Ward intercept him with a big six. Like Debo, we gon' knock him like a brick. The trade lanes play action to a drop back. When the blitz coming quick, the old line gon' block back. RPO with Kyle Hughes, Juice, Mitchell and George Kittle, can't nobody stop that. Stand behind Kyle Shanny all the way. It's like a game of chess when he call the play. Brendan Ayuk on the center fade. Bang bang, Niner gang all day.
Ooh, Tua got rocked there. Videos courtesy of Maddie B. Thank you. Welcome to IE Sports Radio. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Real good.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, let's get right to
but
it.
Happy.
What's that, Maddie?
Damp but happy.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get right to it. To our special guest joining us live from Pro Football Focus. Bring in John Kosko. John, thanks for coming on the show. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, no problem. How you doing?
Doing well. There's a sickness that's going around the country, it seems like, and it hit my family, but we're getting over that, and so we're doing much better. How about you all? How are you guys doing?
Yeah, same here. I'm getting over a cold myself.
Recovering from some foreign illness as well.
I believe
that seems to be the norm
RSV
nowadays. It's like
week.
somebody's recovering from something. So
Yeah.
This is true. All right, so getting right to it, John. As far as grading players, what goes into that?
Well, that's quite the loaded question, to be honest, because a lot goes into it. Essentially what we're looking at is a production factor of this. So there's a lot of how you could grade. So coaches will grade technique or traits or the speed of which how quickly you close on something. What we're looking at is production wise. So like in if Tom Brady throws a screen pass to Rob Gronkowski and he takes it for 50 yards, Tom Brady didn't contribute anything really to that play except for he did as he was expected to do, which is complete a really easy throw to him. Where Gronkowski, maybe he broke 5 tackles on his way for that 50-yard touchdown or something like that. He did all the work. He gets the positive grade of, probably like a +2. So we grade on a +2 to -2 scale in 0.5 increments. And we try to, put a number to every play for every player in that category on what their specific assignment is. So, like if Nick Bosa gets a pressure on the quarterback, but the quarterback somehow gets the ball off and throws a 50-yard bomb down the field, Nick Bosa did everything he could to get that pressure, and, he's going to still get that pressure. He's still going to get that positive grade. And it's going to be the coverage's fault that maybe gave up the big play. So, we can look at over the course of a year, if Nick Bosa is consistently getting pressure, generally that quarterback is not going to be able to complete those type of 60, 50-yard bombs or something like that. So I could go on and on about how we grade, but that's kind of like how we get into it and stuff. So
to me, it almost feels like a performance review where, if you make the average, you're adequate, you're doing your job. Does that mean like 0 on the +2, -2 grading scale? Like,
yes.
What constitutes a neutral 0 grade?
Yeah. So like that example of that Tom Brady, you expect him to complete a screen pass. You expect the quarterbacks to complete generally 5-yard slants and quick outs and stuff like that. So as an example, Brock Purdy threw that touchdown pass to Kyle Juszczyk. That's an expected throw that he's supposed to be able to make every single time. Juszczyk did the rest of it. His blockers kind of did a good job there of on that play as well. So that would be a 0 graded play for the quarterback, whereas the fullback there for Kyle Juszczyk, he gets the positive grade of like a 0.5 on that play because he did above and beyond what you'd expect him to do, which is to finish that play into the end zone.
Okay. Because I was curious about that. I saw the way the grading scale functioned, and I was like, wonder what like just neutral means in the grading scale, and what does that look like on on film or in an average play.
And a lot of interactions on the field are zero graded interactions. So, if you have a run play where, say, you got a power to the right, and a power would be like the guard pulling to the one side, and say that guard does what he's supposed to do, is block the end, and he gets to him, and the end is also setting the edge, and they both collide and they both do their job. So from a defensive coach's perspective, he'd be like, yeah, you set the edge. It's a positive play for you. Kyle Shanahan would go, yeah, you pulled and you got your edge guy. You kicked him out just like you're supposed to do. But for us, they both did as expected. We zero grade that, which in a sense is both like a minor positive for both sides, because they accomplished what they were both trying to do.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes I see the grading and I'm just a little bit like, what does that really mean?
Right. Like, and like we have our 0 to 100 grades, and that like tries to take the plus minus grades that we give on every single play for the players and puts them into like a more usable context for the consumer, essentially. So everybody understands Madden grades. So like you start getting into the 90s, your elite level type players. So that's kind of like the thought process behind why we adopted a 0 to 100 grading system.
Okay.
And with that, is your baseline, like you said, it's 0 to 100? Does your baseline like start at 50? And
it starts at
scale
60
up and down, or 60? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a formula that, like, so I'm a film analyst, so I'm doing all the grading stuff like that. I don't know the specifics of how you get, like, if Jimmy Garoppolo throws, goes 20 for 24, and say 10 of those plays are 0.5s, and the rest of them are, you got 5 zeros and 5 negative 0.5s or something like that. I don't know specifically what that's going to come out to in a 0 to 100 grade, because I didn't do the formula. That's somebody else that has like the maths and stuff like that to do that. But it does start at 60. So we consider 60 at a replacement level benchmark. So the further you go up from that is you're above replacement level. And then the worse you are from a 60, you're a below replacement level, where you kind of almost expect a guy off the streets, quote unquote, off the streets, to be able to come in and do as equally good of a job as you. There's a lot of complications that go into it and stuff like that. But like if a player has a 70, like a 75 grade, he's actually a pretty good player. And as you go up in scale, it gets harder to move up in the scale. So like, whereas like somebody can be like a 99 in Madden and like speed, like Tyreek Hill is going to be a 99 or whatever it may be. Like it's almost impossible in our system to get a 99. I know actually Trent Williams got a 99 run block grade last year from us, but it's like that's unheard of. It's I think of it as like an exponential scale. As you go up that scale, the harder it is to go from like a 90 to a 91 versus like going from an 85 to an 86.
Okay.
So would it be like analytics, or is it different?
So, all right, analytics is my opinion is this like using data to make decisions, and we do so much more than just the grades. So we're charting upwards of like 300 different data points per play. So not only is it just like a grading aspect of it, but specifically a lot of, like, from a coach's perspective, they love the player participation data that we do. So like, who's on the field, what position they are, what specifically their location is on the field, and then what their specific assignment is on that play. So, if you have a cornerback that's, are they playing in cover 3? Are they in cover 4? What's that guy's role in that specific coverage? Offensive line, defensive line breakdowns. We have all sorts of different techniques that we chart that hey, how is Trent Williams doing what is he doing on backside of this outside zone play? What's his technique there? Who's he blocking specifically? What gap is he blocking specifically for? Is he climbing to the second level, or is he cutting off at the inside B gap that he has there? There's a lot of different things that we chart, and that ends up being how do the coaches use it? Do they use that data to inform their decisions? You know, some organizations use it much more than others, like the Cleveland Browns are a highly analytical team, whereas like the Tennessee Titans are less inclined to use as much data as like the Browns would. So that's what analytics are, is just taking the data that they have and making decisions off of it. So that's what I think it is.
Okay. So as far as the 49ers goes, do you have anything as far as the offensive line, particularly the right side, as in Mike McGlinchey?
like how good is Mike McGlinchey? And
Yes.
How good are your offensive linemen? Yeah. So
Here it comes.
So it's always difficult when you look at a team like the 49ers is that you easily will take what Trent Williams is due and compare everybody on the offensive line in contrast with him, and they all look worse in contrast with him. No matter what you do, and if you do that across the NFL, everybody's going to look worse than Trent Williams because he is, the best offensive tackle, and if not the best offensive lineman in the NFL right now. And that kind of showed itself with his insane grade that he had last year. He's a phenomenal run blocker, as you probably all know. And he's very good, if not now, elite as well in pass protection. Mike McGlinchey I'd say he's an average offensive tackle. And I know that, like from a fan perspective, when you can look at him and see him in comparison to what, Trent Williams does, I also look at it in comparison to like when Joe Thomas was with the Cleveland Browns and you also had Mitchell Schwartz on the Cleveland Browns. Joe Thomas is almost never making a mistake. And if Mitchell Schwartz makes 3 mistakes a game, which is actually a really good game for an offensive tackle, everybody looks at the 3 missed plays that Mitchell Schwartz had and says, well, he's not very good. Just look at what Joe Thomas is doing. And that's an unfair comparison. McGlinchey's grade this year is a 68, which is, not great by any means. And obviously, from his draft status of being, picked number 9 overall, you'd probably expect more from him. He's been, roughly around that 70 level offensive tackle, which is actually a solid piece. And it's not like a detriment to your team. If you have a player that's say grading, like Spencer Burford for you guys, who is a guard for you and I had over 500 snaps, his grade this year is a 49.3. So that there is a weak link on your offensive line that you've had, and obviously is not good. So I think, I think he's replaced by Daniel Brunskill, who's been much better and at a 66.8 level. So I think what offensive line play for in general, what you want are no weak links, and a weak link meaning like a guy that's essentially grading under 60. If you're above 60, you're generally okay. And then obviously as you get away from that, the better you are. But the difference of like grading at like a 60 level and grading at a 75 level, there's a huge win probability, increase that you get from your offensive line versus a guy that grades like at a 75 to what Trent Williams is doing. Trent Williams is a phenomenal run blocker. He's a phenomenal player, but the difference in add value to your team isn't the jump that you would get from, say, a replacement level to an average offensive lineman. So but if you go, if you're able to replace Burford, the rookie you had in there, if you're able to replace him with an average guy, which you have done, it spells massively good things with your offensive line.
Is there anybody that looks like they've kind of taken a bit of a dip from last year in terms of like rankings on the team that kind of stands out, that maybe was affected by some of the changes in the coaching staff or maybe anything else that could be going on out there, or just sometimes people just regress?
Yeah. Progress is never, everybody wants progress to be linear. And I think the easiest example of looking at that, there's 2 examples you can look at, and these can kind of be chalked up to injuries are Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. They're not having the the types of seasons that they had last year, or even when Kittle is always on and off hurt, but he's not having the type of season that even when he was healthy and playing last year, he was still grading at a 90 some odd level. This year he's down at a 70.6, which is like a far cry for him, which generally he's been, a top 3 graded tight end in the NFL pretty much year after year when he's out on the field. And a guy that kind of has, taken a leap for you guys would be, I know you didn't ask about guys who have progressed, but
no, I love it. Bring the positivity, please.
Oh
Please.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, please.
So, Brandon Ayuk. Unfortunately, I traded him away right before he started in my fantasy team, right before he started playing well this year. But he's a guy that your team is built really, really interestingly, because it's built with a lot of like really physical yards after the catch, like monsters. Yeah. And Ayuk is no stranger to that. But he also brings in like really good route running chops and really good hands, and he has the ability to create probably more downfield than say like a Deebo Samuel can. Something that has hurt Deebo Samuel has been the addition of Christian McCaffrey to your team, because all of the check down routes and underneath stuff that say Deebo Samuel was getting all those targets are essentially being split now off to Christian McCaffrey. So his, for one, Deebo Samuel does get double teamed a lot more than anybody else on your team, which doesn't help his causes when it comes to, producing it, yards and catches, obviously. But there's all those dynamics that go into it. And as soon as like the Christian McCaffrey trade happened, I knew immediately that it was going to affect Deebo Samuel because of how he's used, because he's a guy that catches a lot of screens and you expect to get yards after the catch with him. And he kind of uses as a gadgety type guy in sense, and he's not used as much as that because I think Kyle Shanahan wanted to bring in a guy that was specifically a running back to do that, even though Deebo Samuel was an absolute monster doing that last year.
So John, on that note, though, would that really hurt Deebo's grade if Deebo performs his job adequately in his role? I mean, yes, Christian's going to have more yards. He's going to be a better fantasy. Maybe they're both going to suffer in fantasy because they're sharing those targets. But as a graded player, if Deebo blocks the way he's expected to or catches and Christian the same, is that going to affect their grading in the PFF scale?
And real quick follow-up in addition to that. And you mentioned, since we're on the skill players, and you mentioned Ayuk, there's a lot of games that we've seen Ayuk is running wide open. Mm-hmm. He's beating his man, he's beating double coverage, but he doesn't get the ball.
Yep.
In my eyes, I'm like, oh, that's a positive grade. He did his job more than adequately. But statistically, it doesn't show up.
That's where I'm going. Same type of thing, going the same place
exactly.
that you are.
That's why I want to jump in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the Deebo not getting the catches part of it. Yeah, for receivers, remember the grade is a production grade. And when it comes to catching the route, if you're running a route and you don't get the target and the catch, there's like a small negative that's put on your grade in terms of what the PFF grade that you see on there is. We have a process that charts all of the routes and grades all of the routes. If this guy's getting open versus the guy that, if he wasn't targeted, we're positively grading that. That doesn't actually get fed into the PFF grade that you see. It's actually a decently new process that we have that I actually developed. We're in our 4th season of doing it. And we're, obviously it's a newer process, and we're trying to fold it into our content, our package and hopefully our grading, package at some point. So if you're not getting a catch, you're running a route and essentially not getting yards. So if you're not doing that, if there's an opportunity for a block, there is an opportunity for a block. For a lot of catches, a lot of pass plays, there isn't really an opportunity for a block for that. And obviously what matters is the quarterback targeting you versus not. Sometimes, it's easier to grade highly with a quarterback that can spread the ball around and find the open receiver. So like when you look at Tom Brady and in his prime, he's able to elevate the grades of, maybe his wide receivers, or maybe the system's able to do it where you have fewer wide receivers out there. So every time they are out there, they're getting more opportunities per, time they're out on the field, their percentage of targets. So like grade wise, yes, if Debo was out there and getting his fair share of targets, he might be grading better. On a per catch basis, he essentially is not doing as strongly as he did last year, where he was at a 90.1 grade. This year he's, at a 72. So he has, from that standpoint, taken a step back. But you also look at how has he done when he has asked to be run blocking. He's at a 44.3 this year versus a 55 last year. So he's, in that sense, he actually, still underperforming what he was doing then. And then on his run plays, when he does get the ball as a runner, he, last year was an 85.3. This year is a 59.4. So he's not making the full usage of his ability when he's gotten the ball in his hands. And like we know, he has been hurt this year. So that has a factor in how well a guy can and does play. But the thing is, we don't factor that in. It's like, if you're out there and you're making plays, like, we're not going to, unless we see you actually get hurt on a play where you make a cut and say you blow out your knee, we'll be sympathetic to that. So, but if you're out there and you're not, you're just playing through an injury and you're playing every play, we're not, handicapping your grade just because you were on the injury report versus some other guy who's also battling, everybody's battling through injuries and bumps and bruises at this time of year. So we just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, back to the linemen for a second. I just thought of something when you talked about McGlinchey and his run blocking. I was thinking back to 2020 when he had this high run blocking grade, but in looking at him, when he blocked another defensive lineman, he didn't really move the needle too much. But because we pulled and got him out in the open so much, he would destroy linebackers and defensive backs, which you think, as big as he is, he should. Do you guys factor that in your data points?
So blocking offensive line or defensive linemen versus being able to get to the second level and blocking lesser, easier players to block. It's still if you get your hands on a obviously in a cornerback or a safety or a linebacker, sure, they are going to be easier to block than say the defensive tackle or the defensive end. But actually blocking those guys is to actually get your hands on them is more difficult than say to try to block your average defensive end or defensive tackle. I say average because you're not going up against a Nick Bosa or Aaron Donald or like a Myles Garrett or something like that every play, where then it becomes like, well, that's no longer average. It's a much more difficult assignment. So we recognize, like, if he's blocking a cornerback and how much he gets his hands on him, like he's gonna move him, right? He's gonna obviously have an easier job of, once he gets his hands on him, he's going to move him. There's a little bit of a factor that takes into place where, like, hey, that was a little bit easier of a move once he got his hands on him. So he, maybe instead of like if you're just blowing him off the line, maybe you need to blow him off a little bit more. But we don't. It's kind of that brings into like a subjectivity type thing, where we try to make our grading as objective as possible. So like. What every offensive lineman would be expected to do in a specific situation is what we're trying to, determine, and then how much more add value that he gave to that play with his block. So it does, like, what your assignment is matters, and then where the run goes does matter as well. So if you're opening up the lane consistently, you're going to consistently get positive grades, whether you're blocking the defensive end or that linebacker that might be perceived as being an easier block.
Okay.
John, how are penalties factored into the grade? So if McGlinchey gets called for a hold,
yeah,
what ever happened?
Yeah. I mean, it generally is obviously going to be downgraded. He's been called for 7 penalties this year. I don't know off the top of my head how many are holds, how many are like false starts or something like that. But generally, it's like a -1 type play. Assuming that the referee called it correctly. Yes, assuming that it was called correctly.
So you do take that into account. So if it seems like that the play was a poor call, so you said you're an analyst, so how would you analyze that as a grading call? Like, this play, McGlinchey got called for a hold, and it's maybe questionable that it's an actual hold.
So we're not trying to say, the referees are there on the field. They have a firsthand view on it. Yep. We're not going to be like overturning like a whole bunch of calls that the referees call, but there's going to be there's generally some easy, obvious ones where, offensive linemen are going to be, you're going to be blocking a guy inside with your hands, and there's always going to be holding on the play. And if you plant that guy to the ground and they call a hold, maybe that's not the right call, versus like if you're blocking a guy and he swims over and you're obviously holding on, something like that, you needed to let go, and you didn't let go. That's pretty obvious there. So like it's generally pretty, if you watch, so we watched like thousands and thousands of hours of film. Like it's, it once you watch that much film and you're analyzing that many types of, that many plays and that many interactions on offensive line, it becomes like more of an ingrained type thing of like knowing specifically what is and isn't a hold. I would say that generally refs get it right. I will be the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? I do not like refs. I'll just say that. I think they get it wrong. I see them get it wrong, like spotting the ball. They don't know how to spot the ball. And it's like, get the little things right. But, we're generally siding with refs most of the times because they're generally right about the hold calls and stuff like that.
All right, before Mike McGlinchey sketches any more strays, hold on just a second. I just had a quick follow-up on that. I feel, watching 49ers games, there's at least 4 calls in every game that just leaves me scratching my head, like completely, like what WTAF was that, right? Like how in the world was that seen as a penalty against the 49ers, and how is it seen like that as a penalty against the 49ers? Is there a team out there that seems to be a little bit more unlucky with penalties than any other team out there in the league?
I can tell you that the luckiest ones, and that would be the Steelers and Cowboys.
That's weird.
They over the past decade, and I looked at this. There's a chart that I looked at, and how many penalties each team got over expected versus whatever. And the Cowboys and the Steelers are right at the top of that list of the 2 luckiest teams in the league. I don't remember who was at the bottom. I really don't. And I would just say that if you talk to I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. You talk to Cleveland Browns fans, they think that Myles Garrett's getting held every single play of the game. You probably think about that with Nick Bosa.
Yes.
We watch it. It's 100%. Yes. It's a thing.
There you go.
It's a right.
It's a thing. Every single fan base will say, "Hey, my elite level pass rusher is getting held on this play," and you're probably right. You can't clothesline a guy and drag him to the ground. Those offensive tackles had a massive disadvantage, and I think it is what it is. You would hope that the referees would maybe see it more often. But I would say that like if we see that on film too, where it's like, hey, this guy got away with a hold, we will grade it as such as a hold. So we do downgrade an offensive lineman if he's clearly getting away with a hold. So it doesn't have to be a non-call a called penalty to be actually get a penalty type grade. Because like there's two levels that you can get from a penalty grade. One is in the action of what you're actually doing on the field. So if you're pass protecting and you hold somebody in the act of pass protecting, you're going to get a downgrade towards your pass protection grade. But if you're holding and say like the quarterback had broken the pocket and you kept your pocket clean, but is like kind of like you were holding a guy and you just didn't let go quite in time. That's more of a discipline grade rather than you were poor in your pass protection. So that goes towards a different category of downgrade, which is, falls into what we call discipline. Pass interference stuff, that falls into a coverage downgrade for a coverage defender. A targeting penalty will go down into a discipline grade because you should have not lowered your head and speared a guy or something. Roughing the passer goes into a discipline grade and stuff like that. So
I'm going to bring this back up because I thought this was funny, but also, sorry, Mike McGlinchey.
How'd you grade that?
Man, I mean, honestly,
man.
I don't remember that specific play. But if you bring that up, if you bring that play up, I mean, generally like a missed assignment. So like I can just tell you right now, if the guy didn't block anybody and just goes, what the heck was it? Generally that's getting a -1. So like so we call it a mental error, and mental errors generally get -1s depending on the severity of them. If a coverage guy massively busts if he's playing deep third and he, for whatever reason, runs into the box and they throw a post over the top of him, he's getting more than a -1 because generally that's going for a big touchdown, and that's going into -1.5 to -2 type category, depending on how big the play was, the situation and stuff. So, mental errors get heavily downgraded. And it's funny though, is that like you talk about a guy that's he looked in air and just did nothing. Browns fans would say the same thing about Jedrick Wills, where he misses on his block and he looks around and yells, "Look out!" So.
Does he get a plus half point if he yells "look out" and it's successful? Like if the quarterback does he get a 0.25 for that? A 0.1? Is that a
runs
thing?
Towards the play?
Right. Yeah.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Okay. Check. All right. I just want to make sure there wasn't like some sort of like achievement medal or something. Like
you get a participation trophy.
Yeah, some sort of ice cream thing. Like I don't want that.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to bring up Brock Purdy. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a picture where, and if you want to bring this up.
John, you're in trouble.
Here we go.
There's a picture where he just has a silhouette. Can we get him an actual picture?
Can Mr.
PFF
Irrelevant
do this?
become relevant?
Can we get Brock Purdy a picture? You know what's interesting is that he really is Mr. Irrelevant. That's funny. Look at that. It's really funny that we actually don't have a picture of him up there on the site, because generally we have most players. So that's like maybe the first in the NFL that I haven't seen that a player is actually pictures up there. So I can talk to our guy after we get off this and get that up there.
That would be
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
That is such a pull.
We thought now would be a great time to bring that up.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. You're rocking with Brock now, so it's
he's relevant.
He's relevant. He's relevant now.
Yeah.
He's first Mr. Irrelevant in NFL history to throw a touchdown pass, or even throw a pass in the NFL. Not just a touchdown pass, but a pass. So
at this point, based on everything we have out in the league, right? Let's say Baker Mayfield had made it through waivers. Is Brock Purdy the absolute best option for this team at this point? Just to leave. I mean, I feel very strongly that he is, but like, is there anybody else out there that like, boy, he would have been worth a shot, right?
No, I mean, at this point in the season, there is not really much for options. You're not going to be able to pick up somebody off the streets that you're probably going to be able to get to play at a high level and essentially get you like. Purdy's been there all season long. He knows the playbook. He knows the system. He knows all that stuff. And that, you're not going to get CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins off the streets right now. I don't know where CJ Beathard is actually, but Nick Mullins is on the Jaguars. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually on their practice squad. So you couldn't pick him up off the practice squad. Right. I mean, if you had like a former guy that was like that, you would be able to do that. But, and even with like, if Baker Mayfield had gone through your waivers and you put a claim on you at him, which Kyle didn't, I don't know if he's much of an upgrade over Brock Purdy at this point, anyways, because he's having arguably the worst season in the NFL of any quarterback. Grade wise, he's that. Efficiency play of a quarterback, he's the worst. So, every metric we have, he says that he's the worst. So I think it's tough. And I'm of the opinion that the trade deadline needs to be moved back to after Thanksgiving. It might have, this may have like fallen into a bad timing for you guys in terms of if they had adjusted it, but like it would make, I would say, like the NFL season that much more exciting of like these a late season trade, and potentially for like the 49ers where they lose, obviously you're down to your third string quarterback now. I mean, essentially any sort of shot at the Super Bowl is over for you guys, and not to like rain on your guys' parade of you have the best defense in the NFL. You have a phenomenal scheme. Like Kyle Shannon's a great play caller. You had all the makings to make a run this year. You're not going to do it with a guy that was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant. It's just not going to happen. So,
well, I don't think we'll actually do that with Jimmy G either. But we do have all the weapons around it, and our defense, and
at least with Jimmy G, he's taking you there, and he's took you there last year to the NFC Championship game. So like there is that hope. I don't think. Do you guys have hope with Brock Purdy? Do you really have
yes.
hope with? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
we are here. We are here telling you that he needs a picture.
we painted logos on our walls. I mean, come on.
So, do I expect Brock Purdy to become the modern day Tom Brady? Okay.
Well,
do I expect it? No. Okay. If you always expect disappointment, you'll never be disappointed. However, I would like to be optimistic and think that a head coach that once got Nick Mullins to almost throw for 500 yards in a National Football League game, right, would be able to take a kid who had 40-something college starts, right, who's been running the scout team against his defense all year, can do something with him, right? And that's the hope, right? Is the rest of the NFC so unbelievably crazy right now that you don't think like, yes, going into Philadelphia would be extremely difficult.
I agree everything with what you just said there. Like Kyle Shanahan is an absolute wizard of a coach of developing a quarterback and getting the absolute maximum out of a backup quarterback. Like nobody I've ever seen. He's phenomenal when it comes to that stuff. Now, the question remains is how far can Brock Purdy take you? He's a guy that when he was in college, his grades were solid. His freshman year was like an 88, which is phenomenal for a freshman, but he regressed every year since then. I believe he had Alan Lazard maybe as his freshman year. And that does factor into like a quarterback not performing as well when you lose sort of that type of talent. But I think there's, I don't want to rain on like any fans parade. I really don't. I'm not in that type of business. That's not what I want to do. I do like to set realistic expectations. And I mean, think about it, right? As a rookie, I don't think a rookie's never taken a team to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like saying that it can't happen, but it just hasn't. And especially a guy that was drafted in the 7th round. I think, are you thinking maybe in the long term, this guy could turn into something? Sure. Maybe. Right. I think he's one of the biggest things of a quarterback is experience. He has the experience from college. He played in a good system under Matt Campbell at ISU. And Kyle Shanahan can do some great things with quarterbacks. So, I think your guys are going to win this. I think you're going to win the division still. You have like an 87% chance of doing that at this point still. And I think you're going to, you can, make sort of a run, but we'll see what Brock Purdy can do. We'll see. Do you know about his play against TCU last year, by the way?
No.
No.
If I could share my screen, I would share my screen, but he had a play against TCU, and you're not going to like this, but he was getting sacked. And instead of like just taking a sack, he was spinning around and threw it 50 yards backwards, and it was picked up by the TCU and ran in for a touchdown. It might be the
We
worst
see
play
that all
I've
the
ever
time
seen
from
from a
Jimmy.
quarterback.
Listen, we're well versed with the Jimmy
We
James
we've seen quite a lot from Jimmy G.
You know, it's interesting with Jimmy is that
Jimmy throws lots of ducks.
Jimmy and McGlinchey, man, like constantly. Like, I don't even know how do they even function with all the just the strays they catch every Wednesday night. It's disturbing to me.
What are your guys' thoughts on like Trey Lance and what you thought of that, the trade up to get him, and then obviously you only saw a handful of games this year, not even a handful, just a game and a half essentially.
I was at the draft and I really wasn't sold on Trey Lance myself, but I'm not a scout. I'm not a talent. I don't do those sorts of things for a living. So you have to trust in your team and the people that they pay those kind of high dollar jobs to go out and make those choices. But I personally wasn't sold on him. I want obviously the best for him and hope that he would do great things for us. And then when he got hurt, I was at the game when he got hurt, and it just was like, here we go. Yeah. So it was cautious optimism, and then really disappointment when he got hurt. So I don't know. I think there's maybe some doubt about his future at this point, but I'm not sure what the front office would say.
Purdy is like the opposite of him. Like he's had almost no experience over the past 3 years because COVID year, North Dakota State played the one game in the middle of the season, a random middle of season game. And then obviously he got drafted, sat the entire year as a rookie, got not even 2 games this year, and then got hurt. It's so it's essentially 3 years of not playing.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's really tough. And I don't know if a guy like that can ever succeed without that experience, because the quarterback position is vitally important to get experience.
It's not even that as much too, experience and reps and all that is super important. But as someone who used to cover the University of Maine, also at the same level that North Dakota State is, and made it to a Final Four back in 2018, a lot of those players that play at that level, their bodies can't handle the jump going to the NFL. They tend to they get that one injury in their first camp or their first thing. That's it. They're cut. They're done. And so far, since Trey Lance has been in the league, he's broken a finger in his first preseason game. It took him the entire year to recover from last year, and really changed the way that they were planning to use him throughout the season, and allegedly limited him in the 2 games that he started for them. This year was banged up, and then gets his freak injury against Seattle. You almost become concerned that this guy's body just can't handle it, right? Because he's had all this time to kind of get up to shape and get everything, and he works hard. Clearly, every time you turn around, he's in some sort of workout mode or doing class stuff, and you hear nothing about him not working hard enough. If anything, you're almost concerned that he's working too hard. But you just worry that his body's not going to make that first round jump, but his mind's going to, right? We traded 3 first-round picks for a really good future head coach, is what it feels like it's trending towards right now.
Yeah.
And that scares the living crap out of me, right? Because I don't want that. I wanted him to be that guy that put it.
I think he still is that guy
like that right now. I hope so. I 100% hope so.
It was a great
It's a
move
good
by
kid.
the organization to go up and get him. If you look at the premier passers around the league that taken their team's places, they are strong guys with big arms who have mobility that can move. That's Trey Lance. He is a pass-first quarterback, mobile quarterback versus a run-first mobile quarterback, which is what you need to absolutely win in this league. The guy suffered some freak injuries. He hurt his finger. He was still out there slinging it. I didn't see any downgrade in passing during the Arizona game or the Texans game. So that was really a non-factor. Yes, it hurt, but he fought through it. The ankle injury this year, freak injury, just like Jimmy's freak injury. Yeah. I mean, that happens. It's football. You're going to get hurt at at some point. But it's not like he's injury prone. If you go back to that Arizona game where Shanahan used him like Mike Allstott and was just running them up the middle 30 times
Still don't
a
understand
game,
that. I don't get that.
he made it through the game.
This is your number one investment, and we're running him into the line like he's bar none William Floyd in 1994.
Exactly.
I will never understand that.
Look at how Buffalo uses Josh Allen. Look at how Philadelphia uses Jalen Hurts. Look at how now finally the Bears are using Justin Fields. When you got an athlete like that at that quarterback position, it's a +1 in the run game where you've now got the advantage against the defense in the run game. And that's for coaches. That is everything. That is absolutely everything. If you have a plus player at that quarterback position that can do that. And so he was probably, as the season would progress, you would figure out, hey, what is it that he does well? What is it that he doesn't do well? How can we function with this? And it would have been probably the first half of the season, a good learning curve and stuff like that for both. And unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see what the season would progress like. Right. The only thing he had you talked about all the tools that he has. He has all those, right? And the only question about a guy like that is like, hey, he didn't play this last season in college, and he's taken that leap from that FCS level up into the NFL level. How much of a learning curve is it going to be, for that guy? And the fact that now that he's essentially with 3 years without playing experience, like it's tough. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be, I think there's next year when he's playing, which is going to be his third year, is going to generally be like, it's going to be his rookie season. Yeah. So there's going to be those rookie bumps and bruises that the guy's going to have and the learning curve. So, what helps is that you guys have an incredible defense, generally a really good offensive line. Even though you guys probably don't like your offensive line, we still grade them as a top 10 unit. I think they're 9th overall. It's boosted by Trent Williams in a way. Yeah, it's boosted by Trent Williams, and that's going to happen. But I think, and you have weapons galore, and you've got a coach that can help that. So you've got all, like, literally everything that a young quarterback wants, he has. The only problem is that now his third year is his rookie year versus this year or last year being his rookie year, where you can maximize his rookie window in terms of are we going to extend this guy? Are we going to tag this guy? All that, are we going to express a 5th-year option on him, which they should. So the window just gets shorter there. And, from a Super Bowl perspective, maybe he catches fire in the second half of next year and you guys can make that run for a Super Bowl because you guys have the talent. You clearly have one of the best rosters in the NFL to be able to do that.
Well, James Arthur Garoppolo's third year was also his rookie year, and he was anointed the guy. So if he can be anointed the guy, so can Trey Lance.
It's just
bigger upside.
Yeah, he's on the Trey train. If you can't tell.
I'm just drawing.
Jimmy's body also took a while to acclimate. He got hurt in New England, then he got hurt again, and even though they're all freak injuries, what is it, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you walk outside and get hit by lightning 16 times, right? You get hit by lightning twice. Sorry about the Drew Brees thing. Are you bad luck prone, right? Like, what happens? Like, at some point, it just keeps happening. It's like, wow.
Right.
But
at least you don't live in the chart. You're not in the Chargers, though. They got a lot,
right?
So John, when you said you analyzed film,
you're going where I'm going.
When you guys are, assigned to analyze, is it a particular group on the field that you analyze, or is it the whole, game in general? How do you go about it?
Yeah, so like I've talked about, like having multiple different processes. We have like a dozen different processes that we do in a game. So we have a broadcast, set of processes, and then we have like an all 22 or coaches film set of processes. And when it comes to the broadcast, so like when a game goes live, we're breaking this game down live and getting the initial grading of that. And when you do the initial grading of it, we have one analyst doing, say, like the 49ers offense versus the Dolphins defense, and then there's another analyst doing the opposite. And we got other people doing like the player participation part of it. We have other people doing like the the play-by-play part of it. So like as an analyst, we're grading the guys and stuff like that, and we're doing all the positions and everything from broadcast, getting as much as we can from that view of broadcast. And it sounds like a daunting task where you're supposed to look at all 11 players, but as if you watch do this 10,000 times or whatever, you have a system of being able to parse through and knowing what is gradable, what's not, and how to go through that. When we review it though, and when we get the coaches film, we do break that up into pass play specific factors. So like we have a run game part of it. We have run experts that grade just the run game only. We have the pass game experts, and the pass game is broken up into pass protection, pass rush, and then also from like a quarterback target and coverage part of it. So we from a review point, like I'm a reviewer, I do all the pass game, and so like I'm breaking down all of that from a review standpoint, and that's how we do it. And then we have other processes that like I talked about how we're grading routes away from the target point. I also run that process as well. So like I have a group of guys that work under me to tackle the games and factor that in as well.
So I just want to tag on to Ty's question. So my thought was, how many people look at a specific game, and how long does it take you to analyze? So you're talking about having teams of people. I read that you had like something like 600 analysts that work for PFF, and then only certain like 10% of those guys can certify a game. So what does that whole process look like? So when you look at the Miami 49er game, how many people are putting eyes on that and grading it? And then what does that look like going from, okay, we did the offense and we did the defense, and then now it's coming to XYZ people to review and make sure we did it right and put the final grades out there. So what does that whole like grading a game process really look like? And how many people?
Yeah. So like I said, if we have one person doing one offense and the corresponding defense, and then vice versa for the other person, those two generally take, like you can finish that up as soon as the game is finishing, because it's if you're doing it all by yourself, it generally take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, depending on how fast you are, the types of plays that are run, how many plays there were in a game. When it goes to the review process, we have we have a I call it QTC, so quarterback target coverage reviewer. You have a pass protection reviewer, and you have a run game reviewer. And then you have so like Bruce Gradkowski works for PFF. He's a former NFL quarterback. He goes in there and verifies all the quarterback grading, making sure that the reviewer got those up the snap, up the shape. And then we have Ben Stockwell is the he's a director of football operations. I believe that's what his title is, but he kind of developed actually the whole process of grading. And he's phenomenal in terms of knowing football schemes and grading and like just all that stuff. So he has an oversight of going through and parsing, maybe picking out random samples of plays and doing that. But generally speaking, like I said, if you got one guy, you have two guys doing it in first run, you get 3 reviewers plus Bruce Gradkowski, and then maybe one other person kind of looking over the final questions of like there's discrepancies and stuff like that on a specific plays where, hey, this is an unblocked thing. There's a confusion between the left tackle and the left guard where who is supposed to be blocking this. Or, we got an offensive line expert that was a coach for a number of years in college football, and he has close relationships with like offensive line coaches around the league too, to kind of know, hey, assignment specific, hey, who is supposed to be blocking this type of stuff. So I know some people think we have the reputation of being like sitting in our mom's basement grading film and just assigning grades and stuff like that. But it's actually a really strict process, and we have to uphold it to a standard, because every single NFL team buys our data and they can see the grades. And if we were, I think like Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, on their podcast say, I know for a fact PFF, they take bribes for grades and stuff like that. It's like it's absolutely. It's like if we were taking bribes, like where's this money? I would like some of this money. Like where is it? Like nobody's ever come to me for a bribing of grade, and it's just not true.
Funny.
But because NFL teams, like coaches will see that stuff and be like, this is bogus. Like this guy is playing terrible for us. Why is he getting these positive grades or something like that? It wouldn't hold to the standard, and they wouldn't be buying our data. Like we'd get put out of business immediately. So,
So okay. On that note, what happens when you don't know what the play is? So a play gets broken up almost immediately. Obviously, the O-line guy is going to get a negative grade. The defensive guy who broke it up. But how do you grade the rest of the team, or do you not grade that? Like if it's not clear, or do you reach out to the coordinators and say, hey, what was supposed to happen on this play, and try to
that'd be amazing
insight into that?
So it's actually pretty rare for a play to like not know what happened, because especially in the NFL, because they're extremely well coached, and generally if one guy is messing up, you're not having like a massive confusion of miscommunication that happens on the play. It happens, but that's a rare thing. And generally speaking, if there's like a mass miscommunication on a play, we're inclined to just zero grade it, not downgrade. It looks like the left tackle is wrong, but it could be the left guard, and we're just not sure. We're not downgrading. We're not downgrading either. And we do try to reach out to like teams and stuff like that, and experts in the industry in terms of like former players that played for the teams and stuff like that, if they have any insight into what happened. We have some relationship with coaches around the league and stuff like that, but generally like it's such a rare thing that we don't need to do that, but we can do it if it is needed. It actually has happened. What's funny is that what's happened is that we've had players come to us, complain about their grade. We go to their coach that we know, and that guy goes, no, he's full of it. He's lying to you. That was his guy. So
he missed his assignment. He deserves the -1.
Yeah. So like players try to come to us and talk to us about their grades. It happens all the time, actually. But and we will honor that. We will look. It's like, all right, we'll take a look at this and review it and go back to our reviewers on it. If we have a relationship with the coach that we know, we will reach out to them as well. We have another former head coach that was in a couple of different stops in college. That was, he's a defensive coordinator at some of the highest levels in college as well. So it's not like we don't have the resources at PFF to be able to figure out what's going on.
Validate someone's,
Yeah. So, we're not in a business from a data collection and grading standpoint. We don't want to inappropriately downgrade somebody when he's not worthy of it. So if we don't know, we're not going to downgrade the guy.
So I have another question on delay of game. So we see plenty of times where the clock is at 0, or what I would say -1. A play gets to go on, and the opposing team, now has a play that should not have gone off and may turn into positive yards or positive points. We've seen it 1,000 times with the Rams against the Niners. They always seem to have this magic clock that we don't have. And so how do you guys adjust for those kinds of things that are just not called? Those non-called magical problems.
So delay of game, if they don't call it, they don't call it, and the play goes on, and we grade it as normal. Because the players are still playing the play. They don't just look at it and be like, "Oh, guess what? It clicked 0. Like, what am I? If the guy's doing
-1,
he never heard
-2.
He never heard the whistle. He's supposed to play to the whistle. He knows that as a player. That's what he's supposed to do, right? Yeah. There are situations where maybe like a defensive end jumps the ball and it's not called, and he has a free rush head start. We will adjust for that type of stuff because he jumped off sides illegally. It was missed. If the offensive lineman's not allowed to move, this guy's already got a running head start on him. He's at a massive disadvantage. So we obviously would take that into consideration.
Okay.
Last one for me.
Yeah.
Do you have any good Chris Collinsworth stories?
So I don't interact with Chris Collinsworth like almost at all, because he's the like, I'm data collection, right? So there's a data collection side of it, and then there's the content video production side of it. And yes, he's the owner of the company, but like, that's generally his side of the business. And he's kind of more, he's an owner, and I don't live in Cincinnati to kind of like, hang around.
It's all right. I wasn't sure if he was like Vince McMahon, had a dinosaur on his office or something. Like, I wasn't. I needed to.
No,
I just wanted to check. I didn't.
No.
All right.
I wish I had some, but
Jerry Rice in the middle of his dartboard or something.
Yeah, like some sort of like Joe
Some
Montana
angry
voodoo doll
Niner
or
hate.
something. Like, I wasn't sure. Like,
yeah, that would be funny.
that was the one city where, like, when like I wore my 49ers gear, I sat down at a bar and a guy's like, you really want to wear that here? Like, it was really. I had somebody ask me about that in Connecticut on my way to Philly last year, but like in Cincinnati was the first time that they were like, "Are you sure? Like, you really?" Yeah, I guess so. I guess.
I think
We took over Cincinnati. We had no problems in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think you guys would be able to walk around Cincinnati a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
They'll probably put their angst towards the Rams. So,
or their offensive line,
or even towards Kansas City.
Well, they own Kansas City right now.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, John. Thank you so much for joining us. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Pleasure.
Thank you for all
Very
your insight.
insightful. Thank
Really,
you.
yeah, very insightful. Great stuff. Sorry for all the Mike McGlinchey hate and Jimmy G as well. Couldn't let that go. But
good.
anyway, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll have you on down the road.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's been fun chatting with you guys. I'm rooting for you guys. There's a former PFFer on the 49ers staff. Bobby Slowick is a pass game coordinator for you guys, and he used to work at PFF. So I have a rooting interest in the 49ers because of him. And I hope you guys do well. It's just not against the Browns. So.
And also, don't forget about that Brock Purdy picture.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me. I'll get that.
Make him relevant.
Yes.
I will.
All right. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Another great interview. John Kosko, PFF. If you don't want to miss episodes like this one or future episodes, please like and subscribe. Turn on your notifications for us, the East Coast Red and Gold on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Of course, for the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, continue to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, ready to take that next step. So go to the website, iesportsradio.com. You'll see the Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starts just $5 a month, which also just happens to match the amount of Super Bowls the 49ers have won. Fun fact. This donation gets you shout outs on all the shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, including Podcasting University, and a chance to be featured on a segment of the flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right.
Woohoo, Maddie.
Good job. All right.
I love you guys. Like, you always like are really like my hype people.
That's right.
You have that radio
Got your back.
voice.
I feel like I'm like Jesse
you.
Orozco coming out of the bullpen, like at 47, right? Coming out, get the lefty out, and then I'm good, right? It's the same deal.
Next time we'll play a little music for you.
Since you brought up baseball, thank you, Aaron Judge, for staying in New York.
Yes.
You're not trying to make any friends with the Giants with that. There's a lot of sad Giants fans today.
Yep.
We have that
That's
divide,
sad.
and we know that. We know we
Yes.
we
Yeah, we
diverge
do.
on on
All right. Niners Dolphins recap.
Oh yeah.
What a roller coaster ride of emotions that game was.
It
right?
was.
Like,
And an injury that, in my opinion, Jimmy G could have avoided. Which reminds me of his ACL tear when instead of just running right out of bounds, he decided to turn up the field. And same thing with this. I feel like he could have avoided it, but hey, it is what it is.
You are not going to piggyback 2 defensive linemen, Mr. Garoppolo. Okay, like I love the guy.
Just
I
go
will
down.
walk across broken glass for Jimmy Garoppolo for the rest of my life for what he did for my kid. Okay, that's just period, point blank. However, save yourself, man. Like
Right.
we want you on the field. That play wasn't so darned important that you could carry 2 defensive linemen with you. They're gonna pull you down. Just get down, man. Like get down. Like that's the one thing that we talked about earlier. Like in Lance needing experience, one of the things that he needs experience in is learning how to get down. Right? A lot of quarterbacks do not know how to get down. Get down quick. Get out of the way. Avoid that direct shot, right? Like there are
And
some
he's
guys
so
that do
and
a
he's
really
so
good
good at taking sacks. Just take
Right.
it. Just
Just
go
go
down.
right? Like there's no point in doing this because at the end of the day, there's
That too.
what you're doing to this team behind you is now saying, this is what this is. This season has now become, instead of being like 1988, has now become 1986, right? When Montana was out and Jeff Kemp played, and then Jeff Kemp got hurt, and they bring in Mike Moscoti or somebody like that. Like,
Yeah, right.
like what's left? Like it's 91 all over again with Steve Bono coming off the bench, and it's like, oh, well, I guess we got the third stringer now. We know how the third stringer is. Like it's like this multiverse season, and you've got this team that's sitting at 8-4 and should win this division. And now we get to see the Brock Purdy experience live. Like, this game was not supposed to go like that. It wasn't supposed to be another turning point in this season. And yet here we are 1 week later.
Exactly. And all I could say was, can we just have like one normal game where everything just, we play, no one gets like seriously hurt, we win, it just goes fine. No, we've got to have like some dramatic injury or some problem.
We had 2 games. We had 2 games like that. I think the Rams and the Chargers.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're right.
But that was it. It's over.
Yep.
And
Nope.
I hope
No,
you
because
enjoyed
even that Chargers
ride.
game, Drake Greenlaw got thrown out for crap. So
Yeah, but as
true.
far as
Well,
like
that's true.
but like injury goes,
Yeah.
Right.
I even
right.
think
Look at
I
an
think
injury or a
the
suspension,
Saints
like, you
game
can't
too
play because of BS
was another
right?
one.
Like whatever the reasoning is, whether it's a freak injury or whether it's the worst call I've ever seen, like at least
Right.
top 10. It was pretty
Yeah.
good because, as you know, the law of physics, him getting hit from behind into Drake Greenlaw, it's Drake Greenlaw's fault. How dare you
The
stay on
funny
there,
thing
Drake?
about I agree with you, Jess. Like Jimmy could have avoided it. When I first saw the rusher coming at him, I was like, just throw it away.
Throw
It's
it
third
away.
down. We're in field goal range. Just throw it away. Get rid of it. I don't want to be taken out of field goal range.
But
Then
as
when
we
he was
know,
getting chased, I was yelling, just go down. Because
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
was
want him
too.
to fumble it. Because remember, he had the ball kind of in one hand,
Mhm.
and 2 guys are coming at him. So I'm like, just go down.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Jimmy
foot
doesn't
thing
know
happened
how
so
to throw it
quick.
away.
Yeah, he doesn't. The
Well,
foot
he
thing
sat
happened
behind
so
Tom
quick.
Brady, and Tom Brady doesn't throw it away either. So sorry, Ty, I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off.
No. It's like the foot thing happened so quick. I still can't believe it's broken. Because if you look at it in real time, it happened like that. He didn't land on it and stay on it.
Mhm.
He kind of like hit and bounced off. It was like,
And
wait
it
a
was
minute,
almost
what?
like the side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as if
And they
someone were
play
to
on
like step on
grass.
your foot. Like I just can't,
Yeah, like his foot
We-
didn't
you
get
know,
caught. It didn't plant. It's weird.
We complain all the time about turf, right?
Right.
Both of the 49ers season-ending injuries for their quarterbacks this year have happened on home field. Like,
That is a fact.
whatever, man. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I'm telling you, somebody has not burned enough sage.
I'm going to get the candlestick dirt and we're going to shake
And
it.
well, you know what, Maddie, the sage is your deal. So
Yeah.
you got to
I
get
gotta
on
find
that.
it. I gotta
get that
find
when
some
you're out there.
sage.
Burn your sage.
find
I'm
some
going to go
sage.
shake the candlestick dirt in the full moon, right? It's a full moon tonight, I think.
Oh, is it?
It's close.
Oh, okay.
It was very large. So
It'll probably be Sunday, the way it usually is happening here around here lately. So
we're going to shake the candlestick dirt in the full moon. And
So rocking with Brock, he did pretty well, I think. What do you guys think? Ty, what do you think?
I think he did well. He played good. He had his ups and downs, as you would expect from a rookie playing his first game. He missed some throws, but then he bounced back and made some throws. Overall, I would say it's more positive than negative, his performance. And I think, just this week, have him being the number one guy, getting the full amount of reps that you should get as a starter and such, he'll look even better. But for this game, I think he played good. Like I said, did some excellent things. To bring up the example, we saw on the 2nd and 10 play where Ayuk ran a route and he completely just missed him. Just threw that thing in the stands.
Yeah.
Came back.
Almost hit the flyover team.
Yeah, exactly. Came back in 3rd and 10. They blitzed the heck out of him. Maddie, you talked about having that play before we went on the air, which was a great view. If you look at that, he cocked back and started throwing that thing before Kilo even turned.
1.72 seconds. It was the quickest throw of this year in the National.
He has a quick trigger release, but he determined, I'm going to hit him in this spot before he even turned. And to hit
was a great play.
Put it right on him was a great throw. Yep. That was a dart.
If he'd thrown it any sooner or any later, it's incomplete. Or an interception, probably.
So he made plays like that made you go, wow. So I like what I saw.
For me, it was the accuracy too. I was really impressed, even with his downfield throws. Everything he did was pretty accurate. I mean, did he miss wide open Christian McCaffrey while trying to go for Ayuk somewhere else or something? Yes, he did. He made some rookie, hold it one more second. You've got Christian McCaffrey over here. We've got the first down and plus.
But then he did get him. So it's he kind of. He learned.
That's kind of my
point.
That's kind of my point. He would mess up, then bounce back.
Right.
Yeah. Or we could spot some of the things he overlooked, or, in the moment he was getting pressured too. They turned the dial up. So he was under pressure a lot. And I felt like he performed so well, getting blitzed and pressured every single play where they were just trying to get him off his mark, possibly throw a Jimmy Duck, But I thought he just held his own and really, really did well, even with some of those missed opportunities, but really, really was impressed.
I like the fact too that I know Kyle alluded to this, but he automatically just likes to look downfield to see if he can throw downfield first. I saw that he was, you could tell he was going through his reads. Yep. We discussed that 3rd down play where he knew that the blitz was coming. The future is bright for this kid. I mean, as long as he does what he needs to do, we need to win this division. I still believe 100% that we're going to make this run. Hands down. I mean, we have the defense to do it. We have the offensive weapons to do it. And he seems like, even Trent Williams saying, it seems like he's like Peyton Manning, just like his swag and the way he, carries himself. It seems like it's Peyton Manning back there, trying to get everybody, together and stuff like that. So Maddie, what do you think?
I lived in New England when Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and that 0-2 Patriots team dragged Tom Brady off the bench. And many people were like, who the hell is this kid, right? Because for years up here, the talk was always, when are you putting Michael Bishop in, right, from Kansas State? When are you putting Michael Bishop in? Went to a game the year before where Drew Bledsoe had broke his finger on the first play of the game. Apparently, when I attended games, starting quarterback just breaks themselves. That's just what happens.
Seeing a pattern.
I'm telling
Burn
you.
the stage. Burn the
Maybe
stage.
it's me. Maybe it's me. Right?
Burn the
Maybe-
stage.
Not only do they
I-
win, there's also like an issue with injuries. So we got to
Some
kind
sort
of
of
we got to
ridiculous-
figure that
but-
out.
A digit.
But anyways, the talk on the ride home during that game, which was, by the way, the coldest, wettest game I've ever been to in my life, it was terrible. John Freeze came off the bench for the Patriots during that game, and everyone was calling the sports radio station mad after that game because Michael Bishop didn't play. Right? He's, where's Michael? I can't believe this is why you get right, the whole thing. Right? And then next year, this Tom Brady kid is drafted and gets hung on to and turns into a thing. But the biggest thing that they mentioned about him at the beginning was his poise and his accuracy. That was it. And also, there was one other thing that he did that Drew Bledsoe could not do. And it's something that we have seen Trey Lance struggle with a little bit. And Jimmy Garoppolo also struggled with a little bit. And that's presence in the pocket. Sometimes, and if a lot of folks remember, sometimes you can be good in the pocket and not be mobile. Dan Marino was really good in the pocket. He was really good at shifting, moving, getting out of the way of the pocket, moving his feet, and then getting his feet square, and having an amazing arm being able to do the things, right? Tom Brady's really good with that too. He's good at shifting in the pocket, ducking, and getting himself set. When he's not doing well, it's because he can't get set. There's just it just can't be done, right? When the Giants beat them in the Super Bowl, that's how it worked. Purdy gave so much of that quick, accurate, boom, 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 that you could almost see Shanahan start to fall in love with the guy a little bit, right? Because at the end of the day,
I did too.
we have two separate scenarios. What we want is for Trey Lance to be Patrick Mahomes Jr. and take this team to, Marsian levels, right? That's what we want. At the end of the day, in a perfect world, that is what happens. But what if Brock Purdy fits the offense better because he does things just a little bit better? He just develops with the offense better because he's getting the reps, right? He's getting the reps and all this stuff happens. They win, they go on. What happens? What are we doing? Right? It's a good problem to have.
It is.
It is.
I feel like they know how to draft and develop these quarterbacks, and I can also see we saw what happened with RG3 and Kirk Cousins in Washington, right? How much of this is really right? He drafts that other guy, and that other guy picks up, and he was going to be the free agent godsend that came here. He was very close to being the 49ers quarterback. They had basically decided in their mind he's the reason that Patrick Mahomes was never looked at. So it's just crazy to me that this stuff kind of flies in the way it does. And now you have this moldable thing of clay that artist Kyle can sculpt, and he has weeks ahead to do it against some really good defenses. And he also, the cool part is about last week, he got to run the practice squad for the Miami offense, which is somewhat familiar, right? At the end of the day.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
If this was going to happen,
bit.
it was the perfect week for it to kind of happen, right? Like he was ramped up. This is probably as well prepared as that guy's going to be. And now he gets to face a really tough Tampa defense this week.
Yeah.
Seattle's going to be a tough game. We all know that. Seattle could roll out 4 people.
See, I don't think the Tampa Bay
tough.
defense is. We'll get into that, but I don't think the Tampa defense is.
They're pesky and they get a lot of calls. They get that Tampa team gets to play a little bit differently than other teams.
I mean, they were good at the beginning of the season.
You can discuss why that is all you want. Cough. I think I know why. There's a quarterback on the other side that would really like to get into the playoffs.
I got the lady.
But that team is allowed to play defense at a different level in terms of clutchy, grabby. Just you're going to see the receivers held a lot this week, and it's not going to be called, and we're going to be angry about it. So,
Ty, you have anything to add?
Yeah,
because I saw you were getting a little. So go ahead.
No. Okay, the whole Washington thing, RG3, Kirk Cousins, that's an unfair comparison because they wanted RG3 to be the guy. He was their guy. That's what they wanted until his ego got to him. And he went in and said, I want to be Peyton Manning. I only want to do this. And the Shanahans
I don't see that
well,
happening with Trey Lance. No.
You're not Peyton Manning.
No.
You don't have the footwork. You can't read defenses like he can. We can't just put you in the pocket. We're going to use you to roll out, use your skill set. I mean, Trey isn't doing that. From everything you've heard, Trey's like, I'm going to learn everything you guys teach me.
Mm-hmm.
The guy had surgery and Zoom called in so he wouldn't miss a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the first trip he could, too.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's not him. So it's an unfair comparison to bring that up. Because
I apologize for making that like that. It was more along the lines of they've set their target right on this guy. All right, we've got our first rounder, right? You're doing your you're doing your fantasy football league draft, and you drafted Jonathan Taylor number 1 or number 2, right? But in the 7th round, you drafted Josh Jacobs. Well, I'll be damned. Josh Jacobs is your MVP, your fantasy MVP this year, right? Mm-hmm. It's just weird how that works. So now all of a sudden you've got another situation where you've traded 3 first-round picks for a guy to draft him highly, and now all of a sudden you've got a 7th rounder starting, and he has a legitimate chance to take this moving forward if he plays well, right? Or at least be an option in case things don't work out. It's just crazy to me. However it works out, whatever the reasoning is, whether Trey Lance becomes the greatest thing since sliced bread, whether Brock Purdy becomes Steve Bono Jr., whether he becomes Nick Mullins II, whatever happens, right, on that scale, it's just crazy to me that Kyle once again finds himself in this situation years later where the top guy that he wants to get the reps isn't available, and the guy that he drafted as a development guy, now he's the guy, right?
It's
and there is no other guy right now. It's just amazing to me that this keeps happening.
Well,
and Steve Bono has a Super Bowl ring, just so you know. let's not overlook that. He was on the Super Bowl roster, so yeah.
Just want to shout out the people in the chat: Brian, David, Karen, Melissa. Thank you for your support.
Yes, Melissa. Towel.
Yeah, but Purdy, we've seen one game. He's done good things. Right. Let's not jump the gun.
Nope.
We got to see him over the course of these last 5. And the way our quarterbacks are going, knock on some wood, hopefully he makes it through these last 5. And let's see
you said it, my friend.
From there. You know?
You said it.
Like, my goodness.
He's making it. He's gonna make it. Like, we're gonna reverse that a little bit. He's making it.
Let me say to my Obi-Wan voice, he is the chosen one. That's right.
Yeah. David says, should we sign a veteran like Sheldon Richardson, considering Ridgeway is hurt and Kinlaw is not reliable?
Yes. But go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a question mark. I'm going to say not right away because we still have T.Y. McGill on the roster.
Correct.
So we're going to plug him in into
and
Ridgeway's
Armstead
role.
is back. So
yes,
Armstead is back, and we saw the impact he had. So it's a question mark on, do we sign him? Can we check out Kinlaw and see what that knee is like? Because to have him back in there would make a difference. So it's a big
I know
question.
real quick, I know they didn't open Kinlaw's practice window today, but Kyle did say that he's, weeks out or whatever. So hopefully next week, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with that.
The problem right now is you only have 2 open slots where you can bring somebody back from injured reserve, right?
Right.
So you've got Kinlaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've also got Elijah Mitchell. You possibly, I'm not counting on it based on the way the team talked about it in terms of like he's going to need rehab and everything after the 7 to 8 weeks. But you're going to have a bunch of different options there where you're going to have to bring somebody back. Do you want to bring back Kinlaw if you don't think he's really going to bring himself all the way back? Because I could see a deal where we bring back Kinlaw and he has some sort of thing and that's it, right? So I think you're going to be uber cautious before they do anything. Yeah. I don't think you're going to see it's real. They're going to have some hard decisions to make, right? If as they continue to advance, on that stuff.
I would love to see a Sheldon Richardson guy come in or type come in, but I wanted to see that with Ndamukong Suh. I wanted to see that
Right.
with somebody like that, right? I was hoping DJ Jones wouldn't work out with the Broncos and he'd just get cut, because DJ Jones coming back here would be absolutely phenomenal, right?
That would be
Because
great.
sometimes those guys just fall off. I mean, that's what happened with Seattle getting who was it that came back? Samson. It wasn't Ebicom. It was
Kerry Hyder.
Kerry Hyder.
Kerry Hyder.
Was perfect, right? It was just like
Hyder.
he had a great season, got signed. Oops, didn't work out. Oh, hey, he comes back, right? Like it's just one of those deals. So hopefully that's how it goes, but we'll see what happens. Also getting some good play from the special teams lately too, guys. The special teams has been really consistent. They're hitting their kicks.
Hey,
And
And
Robbie
they're not getting
and
holding
Wish
penalties
are
on Ray
not,
McLeod returns.
yeah.
Right.
making tackles.
Right.
Exactly.
They've stopped trying to tackle and they've stopped having to tackle. Right.
that's the key.
So
Stop
that is
having
the
to
key.
tackle.
They don't tackle.
big
They
part.
don't get hurt. Special teams doesn't turn into a poop show. Yes, that is correct.
Coverage has been solid. Hey, how did you guys feel after the first play? First Miami.
Not
play?
shocked. Not even remotely shocked.
I was like, okay, I knew this was going to happen, but
par for the course, man.
yeah,
You knew it.
Touchdown maybe was a stretch, but at least a big play. You knew they were gonna be gunning.
they were going to
for-
dial up something.
Yeah, he was gonna be gunning for Tyreek Hill and do something. Yeah.
And
It
it
was
just
a
happened to be
blown
Trent
coverage.
Sherfield too. Yep.
I wasn't phased
right,
because
right.
it was a
And
complete
for it to
blown
be
coverage.
Sherfield.
It was.
Yeah, it was a complete blown coverage, and I was like, oh, okay. He tried to do too much. Huff tried to do too much there and completely abandoned his zone. So they just took it. One of those freak plays. But I was like, okay, we'll get it back. And after that, they didn't do anything.
Yeah, and I think Richard Sherman had brought that up, and Huff was just kind of like, "Yeah, I'm paraphrasing here, but like, yeah, I know, I screwed that up."
Twice.
Yeah.
Twice. There are two big plays
He did.
because he didn't keep to his assignment. And it's funny, he was talking to Richard Sherman. Yep. One of the things Richard Sherman used to always preach is stay disciplined
Mhm.
and keep to your assignment. You play sound football and this defense will be straight. And that goes across the board for everybody. And that's what happened on their two big plays, which was basically their whole offense for the day. The defense was stout once again.
Yeah.
They really, really threw Tua off with their that high-low. I thought they killed him. I thought Tua was dead again on that last play. Guys.
Yeah.
That last play, that angle that I had from where I was sitting.
Yeah.
By the way, 35W. If you can get seats in that row,
35W.
you have a great view of the game. You're taller than everyone, so you don't have anybody's elegante hands standing in front of you, right? Like you can actually see, and you can get the angles of everything that you need. I had beautiful shots in that game just from sitting in that section. Plus, if it had rained, I wouldn't have been like poured on. And yes, please RT everybody's Pro Bowl stuff and get that all done. Everybody's. Tabor Pepper is second right now to some schmuck from the Vikings. Give it a break.
Go on
Come on.
NFL.com.
Yeah, go and vote,
Do it
guys.
all.
Go and vote for our
Retweet it
guys.
because
Hopefully they won't be going and they'll be going to the Super Bowl, but in any event, go
right.
and vote
I
for our
still want
guys.
them to get their Pro Bowl bonuses, right?
Yes.
Like
Right.
that's something we want to
Exactly.
do. That's something we want to do. Also, last week was my cause, my cleats. So if you're feeling extra generous this week, I would highly suggest you go back and look at some of those and maybe donate to either your favorite player or, if Jimmy had something on there where he got hurt in last week's game, toss a little bit that way. I think that would be really good. I'm so sick of Bill's Mafia getting all the pub and love for that. Bill's Mafia raised $4.2 million for a reindeer with a broken leg in Minnetonka, Minnesota, right? We can do this.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
He broke his leg table diving, by the way.
An unfortunate table diving accident for the reindeer, but he looks like he's going to be in great shape. He'll be fine now, thanks to Bill's Mafia, right? Like it's almost like you go see some magic healer and you can walk on water. That's what Bill's Mafia does. And I joke about that, but it seems like they do that every time around. But I'm like, I see 49ers fans everywhere. We could do the same thing.
All right.
Maybe it would stop these injuries because the Bills can keep their quarterback healthy.
Right.
Hey,
Could we bring up Nick Bosa here?
That guy?
And
sure.
14 and a half sacks.
Leading the
Defensive
league.
player of the week.
Yeah.
Sore groin.
3 sacks last week. Yeah.
Could be defensive player of the
62
year.
pressure percent,
Flowers
19.3.
for Nicky Boy. Right. He's playing.
I got my Nick Bosa many face shirts on today.
Love it.
Don't forget.
Defensive player of the week. My goodness.
Did you see that D-bag from Miami do that after the first play? One of the offensive linemen did that.
They were, you know what? They were actually mocking River Craycraft with George Kittle. They were mocking us the entire game.
What a bunch of pettiness, man.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, they were mocking it like out of context. Like
True.
George Kittle does his thing after he catches a first down.
Yeah,
right?
and
No fear
Craycraft,
going over the.
I don't know what he did.
Craycraft catches a 2-yard pass on 2nd and 10, and he's like you did nothing.
Yeah.
When the defensive lineman did the thing for Bosa, he stopped the run play, and it's like, what are you doing? You're totally not even doing it right.
That backup of offensive lineman did that on the opening play too. He's like, if it had been Old Kezar Stadium, people would have been throwing beer bottles at him. Like it was the most cheap heat, ridiculous thing. It was the NWO in the ring in '96, and people are throwing popcorn in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
Like that was the heat he was going for on that.
And all I could say was keep up that same energy. Karma's going to get you. This is going to work out just fine for us.
Yes, I agree.
Well, you saw
So now
Bosa wound up doing it 3 times
dirt.
in the game.
3 times, yes. He's a nightmare. I'm amazed every single time. Even when he's in a headlock and everything else. But I have a question.
Are you going to talk about the coaches? Sorry.
No, go ahead. Are
you going to talk about the coaches? Was that on your slate?
I hope so.
We can. Go ahead.
No. Well, I had to bring this up. I was hoping, it was on there. So remember the talk all season was that Kyle Shanahan misses Mike McDaniel.
And I believe that's actually one of our videos on our YouTube too.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel misses. Mike McDaniel was the run game genius. He was the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator, this offensive guru. It's why we struggle. And coming into this week, it's he knows Shanahan. Shanahan won't be able to stop him, but he'll be able to stop us because he knows him so well. Did you see McDaniel at the end of the game? Was he looking like a genius?
Got out coached.
He was out coached completely.
But he's the genius, and he assigned his fullback and his running back to block Nick Bosa. How smart is that?
Sometimes you outsmart yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some things you shouldn't outsmart yourself on, though. The most
sometimes you think you can get away with
defense.
Yeah, but he did it multiple times. Things I've seen in my lifetime. I once watched rookie Larry Allen with a broken hand try to guard Reggie White. Okay, that didn't go well. Larry Allen turned out to be a really good player, but it did not go well for him against Reggie White. I once watched Max Lane tried to guard Reggie White straight up at a Super Bowl. That also did not work well. That did not work well for anybody. I once watched Tony Tolbert try to line up on Jerry Rice in the slot at Texas Stadium back in 1995. And Jerry Rice went right down the middle of the field, taking that Elvis Gerback pass down the end zone.
Yep.
And I'll never forget that legendary Sports Illustrated photo of Jerry Jones just staring at it and it was the greatest. It was the greatest thing because that was the year they'd signed Dion. And, of course, Steve Young got hurt and the Packers screwed it. And then Neil O'Donnell screwed it. And now the Cowboys have as many Super Bowls as us, and it's gross. So screw the Steelers for that madness. But and the Packers for existing. But at the end of the day, everybody talks about when things don't go bad, they want Kyle Shanahan fired immediately. They want him thrown into the sun. He completely outcoached Mike McDaniel in this game. And the chemistry that you're starting to see, I think, with his coaching staff. I think earlier this season, he did miss Mike McDaniel, right? I think that's fair enough. If you've
Well,
got
it is
that chemistry
fair.
with these
That's
guys that have
fair.
kind of been
That's
there
fair.
with you
It's definitely
when you're
fair.
coming
Yeah.
from the preseason, when you're coming into the early regular season, it's a completely different. This team that took the field in Chicago on opening day in the monsoon, as opposed to what this team is now, definitely gelled a lot better. And I think that kind of helps it a little bit too. I think he knows a little bit more about the guys that he has in that staff. I think the guys in that staff have got the buy-in of this team and the support that this team gives each other. Kyle Shanahan's got these guys playing for each other, not for him, not for us, not for Jed or John or Denise York, but for each other. So
And I think
when you have
what,
Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams coming out and pumping up the Brock party, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you want to see. This is
I
the
think-
culture that you want to see.
right. And I've always spoken to the culture of what Kyle and John, with the organization and the type of culture. And I think this is why the main reason that we're going to go far.
Yeah.
People want to be a part of it.
I
Right.
agree. But just the team itself is a tight-knit unit. And I say this all the time. If you look at them, it's not just like the linebackers hang with the linebackers and the wide receivers are with the wide receivers. They're all intertwined.
Yeah.
The linebackers are with the quarterbacks.
Yep.
The running backs are with the defensive tackles, and
So you
so
have-
on and so forth. They're
You have
a
like a-
tight-knit unit overall.
You
Like
have
when
like a diverse group going to the basketball game together, or out doing the San Jose Sharks. It's not just like
Yeah.
the D line hanging
Exactly.
out together. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So now I have a question going back to the defense. Now, I've seen this question out there. So did Tua have a bad day, or did our defense contain him?
I think he had a bad day because our defense contained him.
I was gonna say,
And I'm not saying that to be a
yes
smartass
to
by
both.
any means, but I think what our defense did during that game was basically say, look, this is how you stop him. And also, I'm going to say this, like a lot of his throws weren't super accurate. He missed some guys that were open, or it would go off their hands. That happened a couple of times, right? And then you had those two challenges. Holy crap. Those are spot on. Whoever's doing the challenge thing, I know we're a ways from game balls. Whoever handles instant replay, game ball. That is my game ball person.
I gave Kyle
Whoever
a game
handles
ball.
So that's
Yeah.
And winner.
I gave Kyle a game ball for challenges. I just want you to know that's in my.
Sweet. I'm giving it to the instant replay person because somebody called that down because I'm standing in the stands thinking there's absolutely no way in hell. I'm like, I cannot believe they gave up another third down. Are you kidding me? This is supposed to be the 85 Bears and the 2001 Ravens. We can't get off the field on third down. And then all of a sudden, here comes the booth. And I'm like, oh, I guess that was not that. And just for McDaniel to just be mad about it, even though that was really like based on the way of the rule, that's what it was. Like glorious, right? Like I'm gonna root for Mike McDaniel pretty much in any situation unless he's against us. So to see him fluster in that situation was pretty great.
Yeah, I think the early on Tua was pressing. I think he got a little overconfident with that touchdown pass, which was only a 10-yard pass.
Yeah,
And Sherfield did the rest.
slant.
I mean, you talk about some easy grading by PFF. He hit the wide open guy on the busted coverage. Sherfield did the rest. So, but after that, it was like trying to hit guys deeper down the field in motion. I think he tried to press a little, and that kind of got in his head. But then the rush started getting there.
Under pressure.
The rush
They're one dimensional.
and he started hearing the footsteps a little, because there were times where we didn't even get that close to him, and he was kind of rushing his throw. So he got rattled.
He did.
Most definitely.
Yep, I agree. I think we did what we needed to do. We pressured him in ways that he probably, I don't know, I haven't watched all of the Dolphins games this year, but I think we got to him. We pressured him like we needed to. and we took him off his game. Maybe he's a little afraid of getting hit, getting hit hard and seeing a few ghosts. Had him throwing up some things that, luckily were missed, but he had some targets that I was like, oh, if that was a catch, boy, this game would be very different.
Yeah.
We gave them a lot of opportunities to beat us, and I do think the defense pressuring him had him off his game significantly. But he had plenty of chances to hit players that could have been a very different turnout, or dynamic in the whole game.
Game balls. Maddie, go ahead.
I already gave you my instant replay dude. Whoever that dude was, hat tip. Way to go. Those are two crucial plays. Crucial plays. And here's a kicker. They won 2, so they could have gotten a third if they needed one, right? So they could have pants McDaniel again on something if they needed to. So it's absolutely perfect. Well done. Right?
Well, so Kyle got my offensive game ball for that very reason. I was like, Kyle gets a game ball for challenges because he was so successful and pivotal changing, play reversals in the game. But I gave an offensive game ball to Purdy just because, you stepped in and you really took it the rest of the way. You took the handoff and you handled it like a professional. Greenlaw on defense, although the defense was hard to really assign a game ball. Everybody had a game ball. Bosa with his sacks, and Aziz and Warner and everyone else, and Robbie on special teams just booting one from midfield. And when we had turnovers and end up in those field goal situations, he put points on the board when we needed it to stay in the game. So those are my game balls.
By the way, going back to Kyle, just real quick to follow up on your point on that, I also like the fact that he did not tell the team in the second quarter that Jimmy Garoppolo was out for the year. He held on to that till the end of the game, right? He made that decision. He was told second quarter by the trainer, broke his foot, he's out for the year, right? So then at that point, he has to decide on the fly in the game, what am I changing to my game plan? Am I changing anything?
Right.
And do I tell my team this or do I wait? He just made every right decision in this game. And it's so often that we're quick to jump on him as soon as there's one mistake made or he makes a decision that doesn't go right. Literally everything he touched in this game turned to gold. So, hat tip, coach.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
I got a game ball for the replay guy because he was quick with it. and it was great challenges. One was kind of meaningless because they went for it. The first one, because they actually went for it on 4th down and wound up converting. But the second one, that 4th down play, oh my gosh. We shouldn't even had to challenge that play because the field judge was right there.
Right there.
I don't know what he's looking at. PFF needs to grade him a 0. He shouldn't be on the field anymore.
-2.
Seriously, exactly. He should get a negative grade. But
there's one thing referees do. They root for the underdog, right?
Yeah,
especially in a game like that.
Exactly. I mean, anyway, the replay guy gets a ball. Defense, I got to give one to the Greenlaw. He was flying all over the place. I mean, the game was moving slower for him because he was reacting to things instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It was great to see.
Yeah.
I got to give a game ball to my boy Eric Armstead. He made a big difference out there. That one drive,
non-existent running game.
That one, they took away the running game. That one drive in the second half, when it was, I think, still a 1-score game, and they moved into our territory. He got the holding call against them when he took on a double team, which pushed them back. And I believe the very next play was the play he got the pressure on Tua that wound up being the Jimmy Ward interception. 2 great sequences there on 2 of Bosa's Bosa's last 2 sacks. He took on the double team of the guard and the center, which helped free up Bosa on the first one. And he took on the guard and the center on the 3rd sack, which left Bosa one-on-one, for the game winner. I mean, That's dirty stuff that doesn't appear on the scoreboard at all, but he put in work. Offensively, got to give one to Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I seemed like every play was going to him for a guy that was dinged up. But
the offense runs through him now.
Yeah,
he stayed in there
a lot
and did everything he could to get us the win. I mean, it was a great performance by him. And that 30-yard run at the end of the game, whew, that was great. Got to give one to Brock. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they blitzed him. They dropped 8 into coverage. They tried man. They tried zone. I mean, I think the ghost of somebody defensive coordinator pass came out and was trying stuff. And he didn't flinch. He stayed in there and made things happen. So he definitely gets one. And on special teams, Robbie Gold. I mean, he was clutch with those kicks, especially on that drive where McCaffrey got us down to the 10, and because of delay of games and penalties and the sack, it wound up being a 50-yard field goal, and he was right down Broadway.
48-yarder.
Clutch.
Yep.
Making it a 9-point lead is such a huge deal.
2 scores,
right?
It's
just that. And how many times do we watch this team like, damn it, can you just get one more point, or can you not get that extra point that could have put this thing away a while ago, because it changes the mindset, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it helped change that mindset there. So Miami had to be a little more aggressive. Tua has to be a little more aggressive, hang on to the ball, fumble. Best part about that Dre Greenlaw play is that he had the awareness to pick that up and run that in, right?
Yeah.
They could have just left that there and like, it was an incompletion. Right?
He almost started not to.
Right, but he's like, and then they just let it go. And it just kept going, like, oh, that's right. Yeah. I mean, hey. So
Training would say take it to the end zone. If it's dead, they'll call it back, but go score the points, right? Yeah.
All right. So my game balls go to Brock Purdy and Bosa, of course, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
All right. Switching gears. Bucs preview.
Defensive battle. I would not take the over in this game.
I just want to start with this. I saw something that is just mind-boggling. Tom Brady, 22 seasons in. Brock Purdy, 22 years old.
Right?
They both end in DY.
Got the rookie versus the old man.
And that's really, there's always something like this. It's like this transfer of energy power. It's so bizarre to me that Brock Purdy is going to make his first NFL start against Tom Brady, right? Like, it's so weird, guys. Like, it is, this whole season has just been this multitude of weirdness, and it just isn't getting any less weird. Like, it's just so bizarre. It's like it's meant to happen. Like, what is this Brock Purdy guy? What if he does become what if he becomes just competent enough to get us there, right? And that's all it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
I don't expect any more. I don't need any more. I don't expect him to be Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert.
We just need him to be Tom Brady.
Yeah, we need him to be. We need him to be Brock Purdy. Right?
We need him to be Brock Purdy, but do the thing. Come up the same way that Tom Brady did. This late round draft pick that suddenly emerges on an opportunity and takes it and runs with it. Like, there were statistics that no quarterback who has made their debut against Tom Brady has won. And I'm like, well, all these records are meant to be broken. So I think Sunday's the day it happens. I think Brock Purdy changes the Tom Brady dynamic. We're going to shake the candlestick dirt, and you're going to burn the sage, and we're going.
Yeah, Maddie's going to work on the sage part.
Exactly.
Right. Clean our crystals in the full moon. And I think we're going to change the tide here a little bit. Tom is playing, I think, past his prime a little bit, stretching that rubber band. And Brock Purdy's hungry. He's Mr. Irrelevant. And he's going to come in and try and really take full advantage of his opportunity. So
how do you think he'll do against the Bucs defense?
I think they're gonna play hard. I mean, I was a little surprised at how well the Miami offense held up against our defense, because they weren't expected to play as well as they did, and it was their third best outing at the season against the Niner defense, which surprised me a little. That
The Miami offense.
The Miami offense, yeah, for as lowly rated as they are, was their third best outing, especially with pressures against the quarterback. So, Bosa still had 3 sacks, which, what does that tell you? But it was their I wrote it down because I saw it. I was like, what? Are you kidding? But yeah, I was a little surprised by that stat, that it was their third best offensive outing of the season was against the Niners' number 1 defense. So I think, especially having Eric Armstead back, that's going to be helpful. He probably, another week in will really settle in and get back into, riding a bicycle. But I do think that's going to be meaningful, how our offensive line holds up, and gives him time. He's going to need time. He's, one more second in the pocket to make one more progression. Maybe he sees Christian McCaffrey open in the flat that gets us the first down plus, rather than trying to hit Ayuk in double coverage and it's incomplete, or Jennings and it's incomplete, or I forget who that play was, but I was like, oh, right there was your golden opportunity. One more look across. So, maybe they work with him on some of those plays and being pushed into a situation where all of a sudden you're the guy and you haven't really had a lot of playing time. So we'll see how this week goes with him progressing. And hopefully that's what we see is progression. And, they're going to be, I think, trying to bring pressure just like Miami did. They tried to dial it up and really put him under, duress. And I thought he performed really well. But he won't surprise anybody next week.
You know what? He did do really well. And I feel that this week he took, the number 1 snaps in practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that helps as well. And just, as far every backup always prepares as if they're going to be the starter. At least I could say for the 49ers, I mean, Brock Purdy was
That's what you do.
Right. Like he always studies as if he's going to be the starter. So I just think that this week with practice reps and extra detail to the film, just as far as, the Bucs defense, I think we'll get a progression. As far as progression goes, I think we'll be further along with Brock Purdy. I'm no longer calling him Brock Purdy. Like the whole Brock Purdy thing is just in my brain now. So thank you, Maddie, for that.
Purdy versus Handsome.
Right.
Yeah.
Handsome's hurt. Now we got Purdy.
But go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish off.
I think like every quarterback, like whether you're in your prime or not, you're going to have like some type of like oops or whatever. So we should all kind of expect that. But again, I think that he's just going to keep excelling. Mm-hmm. At least I hope so.
Right.
The thing that I see about this game is it's very similar to last week's game. You have a quarterback on one side that's pretty good. You've got really good receivers, but they have a really rough running game right now. Shad White got benched last week towards the end of that game. Leonard Fournette is running like he's got a 400-pound piano on his back right now. Like he's got that towards the end Sean Alexander, Eddie George thing going for him right now. Mm-hmm. Where you can just tell that the spring isn't quite there for whatever reason, right? Mm-hmm. So you're talking about another team with really no running game, right? No, with really nothing. So you're looking at yet another one-dimensional offense. Now that one dimension is pretty damn good.
Except they're only averaging 17 points a game.
Exactly. So that's kind of my kicker.
right? I really think this is going to be a low-scoring defensive affair. If the final score of this game is higher than 20-17, I am going to be absolutely floored, right? But I think there are a lot of similarities between this offense and the Dolphins offense in terms of what they do well, but the Bucs don't do it nearly as well as Miami, right? So this is a winnable game. This is a very, very, very winnable game. This is not 2020 defending Super Bowl champion Bucs coming in, right? Does
Right.
Brady have a chip on his shoulder right now? Yes. I still think he's coming back next year because I still can't believe he would just give up his entire family to play one more year of football.
Right.
I cannot physically fathom that. And I don't think it's a scenario where Brady is, I don't think he's super, super, super past his peak, but he could still throw. He's still in the upper half of quarterbacks in this league if he has the offense around him that's there. That offensive line has been, we talk about injuries. Their offensive line has been ravaged by injuries, right? So if there's one thing you need for Tom Brady, it's a really solid offensive line. So for him to be surviving and playing the way he is at this point, while also kind of nursing Chris Godwin back to health from that ACL injury and whatever's going on with Mike Evans, they've got some sort of miscommunication thing going on right now where it's just not, they're not jiving. And Cameron Bates been in and out, and Kate Otten's there for broken plays and things of that nature. But there's not a ton of consistency on that offense. I really think this is a right for the picking game. I could see them shutting them out. Like, this is a short week for the Bucs coming off that Monday nighter against the Saints. That's a tough win for them, 17-16. That was not an easy game for them. It's never an easy game for Tom Brady against Tampa. They take that. They got to run out to the West Coast now. I'm telling you, I think this is a prime win. And Brock Party goes old Brock Party, where it's the fireworks are rolling in the parking lot again, because if this defense plays the way it's supposed to, this offense is not as good as Miami's, and this defense clearly showed you what they could do against a top-ranked offense last week.
Yeah. I think Brock will be fine. Todd Bowles kind of scares me what he does with his ability to disguise things, but they don't have the horses like they used to. And like you said, Brock got some experience last week with everything but the kitchen sink thrown at him.
Mhm.
Like we talked
Everything.
about. I mean, everything. They were coming at him from all angles, not coming after him, zone dogging blitzes. I mean, everything. And he handled it. He didn't waver. So he's got that under his belt. And like you said, this week he's getting the number 1 reps. He's the focus. So he'll be even more prepared. I still think offensively, we won't be seeing them like sling the ball down the field. I do think he will take some shots though. Because like you said earlier, I noticed it too. He was looking downfield for his guys.
Mhm.
And when we heard Brandon Ayuk say in his interview that Brock came up to him and was like, "Hey, I missed you on some things, but don't worry, I got you. I'm gonna learn from this."
He's confident in his long ball.
He's confident. He's confident with it. Yeah, he doesn't have a strong arm. He's got that Nick Mullins type of arm, but he's not afraid to put it out there with some pace and anticipation.
Yep.
And if you have that, you can get away with a deep ball. So I think he'll be fine. I think we'll still rely on the run game and the short pass game to move the sticks. Once again, Kyle can scheme guys open like nobody. Just get him the ball. And we saw Brock can do that. So I think we'll be okay. The offensive line needs to hold up better than what they did versus Miami. They were getting pushed around in the inside too much for me. They gotta improve that, I think defensively, I think we're going to get after them. Their offense is not this high-powered, high-flying thing. I mean, we saw the Rams held them to 10 points deep into the fourth quarter when they played them. Last week, the Bucs, that they had 3 points with 5 minutes to go in the game. And it should have stayed that way. But the Saints sainted, put the garbage bags over their heads and totally screwed that up.
Sainted.
The red rifle backfired.
They didn't go for go for that. Let's put them away mentality. And this is what I mean by that. We saw Mark Ingram catch the swing pass. He's going upfield. All he has to do is fall down. He gets the first down. The clock keeps moving. They keep possession. They keep the ball away from Brady and the Bucs.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple. We saw in our game last week, Brock hits Kittle on that short 4th and 1 play. Kittle immediately turns and jumps upfield, make sure he gets the first down.
Yeah.
Later on in that drive, we handed the ball off to Debo on the left side, and that's where Debo got hit, and he did his little toe dancing balancing act along the sideline, doing everything he could to get the first down. He could have easily went out of bounds there, but no, he wanted the first down. He wanted to keep the drive going, doing everything he could. That's the difference between us and them. We're going to keep going for the jugular, keep fighting, do what we can to put ourselves in the best position to win. That's why I think we're going to do very well against them. I wouldn't be surprised if we shut them out or hold them to 3 points, because we can do it. If the defense plays sound football, doesn't have blown coverages and such, we will do very well against them. And Tom Brady doesn't want to get hit anymore.
Yeah.
He ducks and flinches very quickly, if you notice it. So if a guy like Armstead, Amenahue, McGill could get some push in the pocket, and the guys on the outside can do their thing, he's going to fold like a cheap lawn chair.
I hope Ty McGill is active.
With the injury to Ridgeway,
he should be.
He should be.
So.
Yeah.
He's the next guy up.
Okay.
By the way, the over/under for this game, which I hadn't looked at before we started, I just looked at it, is at 37. Right, so 20-17 would be spot on. But right now, 95% of the bets for the total are on the over at 37.
Wow.
I don't know what anybody's watching this Tampa Bay offense. It's not good. It's one-dimensional, and you can stop it. This looks very much like the 2019 Patriots to me. The only difference is instead of having decent running backs and bad receivers, they've got good receivers and not great running backs, right? Yep. I think White is good. He's a good third down back, but he's not Christian McCaffrey, right? He's not Leonard Fournette from last year, for that matter, at the end of the day. So it's real interesting to see this team and see how they're valued. And typically if 95% of the bets are on one side, well, there's typically a reason that most of those buildings in Vegas are much larger than the buildings that we live in. So that's why when I see stuff like that, I'm like 95%. On an over 37 looks like an absolute sucker bet to me. I think this is a low scoring 20-3, 20-6, 20-13. Whoever makes it to 20 wins, period. If anybody makes it to 20, they've won this game. I don't think there's any this is not going to be a 50 or 60 pointer.
Well, we'll definitely see what happens.
I think it's our usual 24-point offensive outburst. That seems to be our average point range offensively.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Yeah,
shut them down.
All
Keep them off the field too.
What's that?
Keep them off the field. I really,
Off the field,
I really need to see this team have one of those like bulldozer FU. I'm running the ball on every play, no matter what. Saw a lot of good things from Jordan Mason last week, getting rotated into that number 2 slot. I think he can make those cuts. He reminds me a lot of former Broncos running back Mike Anderson. Kind of has that same vibe to him in terms of the way he runs and the way he cuts on the cutbacks. And Mike Anderson was a 1,200, 1,500-yard rusher every year in that Broncos system. I don't think if Jordan Mason gets to even half of that as a 2-back in this system or a 3-back in this system, good day. Thanks for playing. We're doing all right, right? So, and then at that point, I never want to see a pick higher than a 5th rounder for a running back ever again. Ever. Stop it. Stop it now.
All right. So keys to victory, including your offensive and defensive players who have to have a good game. Go ahead, Becca.
Ooh, keys to victory. Defense, pressure. I think having Eric Armstead back is big. It's big for us. I think that's going to help us and, just really, really solidify things. Keys to victory. I think we have to really pressure him. And if we hold Tampa Bay to their true 17 points and we score 21, we win. Like we offense has to produce something more than field goals. We have to score a couple touchdowns, but really if the defense just does what they've been doing and holding Tampa Bay to 17 points, we have every opportunity to win this game.
Ty?
Yeah, I think it's offensively ball control, just like last week. I mean, we had the ball for like 40 minutes of the game. We dominated the clock.
Time of possession.
Yeah, keep it going. And we were just running our same simple offense. It wasn't like we were running the ball heavily. We threw it more than we ran it. But we still controlled the ball, took our time on offense, made sure things worked. Just keep with the same formula. You don't have to switch it up. Just because the quarterback is different, he has the same kind of skill sets. Keep with the same formula. This is that easy. Defensively, I think it's all about the big guys in the middle. Armstead, T.Y. McGill, Hyder in there. When we go to rush line, they sneak a Menahue in there. Get some push up the middle. Because we know Tom, he likes to go back and then step up into the pocket. But if he has guys there, he gets uncomfortable. That's the number one way to make him uncomfortable. So
pressure up the middle.
Get that pressure up the middle. That's going to free the guys up on the outside, Bosa, Jackson, Ebicom, to really get after him. And we know he can't run. Who's he running away from? Nobody. So that's going to be the key there. The guys on the back end, they just need to play disciplined football. Don't try to jump the underneath stuff. But that's when Tom will definitely throw it over your head. Just stay disciplined.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Offensively, I think the guy that really has to have the big game for this team is going to be Christian McCaffrey. I think he has to be the guy. The offense is continuing to run through him. Everything is running through him. It is fascinating to me how quickly they adapted him into this offense as like the primary. He's almost kind of usurped Debo a little bit in terms of the guy who gets the primary touches at this point. And the offense seems to run a little smoother. It's running a little better on third downs. It's doing the things that it needs to do. He's going to have to continue to be that third down chain mover. And also really, really want to see some good stuff defensively from Talanoa Hufanga. I just to kind of go back to what Ty said, disciplined football, right? No letting Chris Godwin or one of their other receivers break one for 75 yards because you bid on a fake or something, right? Like that's a team that'll get you and can get you quick. They're not going to get you with a ton of drives, and they're not going to score 30 or 40 points a game before they can embarrass you real quick, or they can get a tough pass interference penalty if you don't catch them. So to me, it's Hufanga and Christian McCaffrey, the two keys to this game. I think if they both play well and they both produce, I think the 49ers win this game easily.
I think for me, for the offense, it would be Brock Purdy. I think we have to protect the ball first and foremost, and I think we need to start fast. When this team starts fast and they keep going, everything seems to bode well. As far as defense, I'm going to go with Dre Greenlaw. And the key there is he said on KMBR yesterday that he wants a Tom Brady ball. So I'm going to hold him to that. But yeah, I just, we got to keep Tommy off the field, bring the pressure, but we also have to protect the ball. And that's about it for me. Go Niners.
I would love to see them hit Tommy the way they hit Tua. on that last
Yes.
play. I'll let
No
And
doubt.
he will, and
Just
I'll
a
tell you, he will
high-low
not be
crunch.
happy. Yeah. He
I
will
don't
not
think
be
he'll
happy,
get
that's
up.
for sure.
I don't think he'll get back up. I was shocked too. It got back up. I was like, ew,
Yeah, Tua was rocked. He got
because I was
rocked.
like, oh. So yeah,
But if you guys have nothing else, how about we head to the hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning?
let's do it.
Let's go.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Gonna go back one more time. My cause, my cleats. Go back. If you got something extra this holiday season, do some donations. Get some good karma going this way, man. Like we need to keep what's left of our quarterback room intact if we're gonna have any sort of semblance of a season. Also, I would really like to visit Phoenix, so let's make that happen, please. I didn't get to go last year because a kid got COVID. Didn't get to go this year because of a Mexico City thing. Super Bowl's coming right up. I want them to go. Go Niners, beat the Bucs.
Becca?
Following on that, Eric Armstead is our Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. The Pro Bowl voting is still open. Let's get out there and vote for our guys. I think, and shout out to Bosa, Defensive Player of the Week. We have to play hard and fast and get out there, convert on third downs, fix these red zone problems. We have to score touchdowns. No big plays allowed, and I think the Niners should walk away with the victory.
Thank you again to John Kosko of PFF for joining us. Really cool insight, and I'm so glad that it's our show that's going to get him to change the picture of Brock Purdy. Also, the Pro Bowl voting, vote for our guys. Like I said earlier, hopefully they, aren't in it and they're in the Super Bowl instead. But anyway, just go vote for them. Let's do our thing this weekend. Let's beat the Bucs and go Niners.
And everyone, make sure you vote for your kickers. Kickers need love too. So vote for Mitch, vote for Robbie. Just make it happen. There you go.
Kickers are people too.
That's right.
So it's a long snapper, baby.
So is a long snapper.
Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. It's worth it. We have great people on this show. Go Niners. Let's go.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang.
Thanks, everyone.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.